Hey Silk Fan friends, it's Jules and welcome back to my Patreon. I have a little bit of background information for you today on how to condition your fans once you get them. This applies to all new fans. I've recently gotten a few more pairs to be able to cater for all of my students at the in-person workshops, and when I first get them, there are a few things that I usually do just to be able to play with them properly right from the start. Now, when I talk about conditioning your fans, mainly what I'm talking about, so this is my new pair of fans here, mainly what I'm talking about is conditioning this little pin down the bottom here. So what happens when they first get made is that because the staves are stacked on top of each other like this and the pin gets put in, it can happen to be quite tight, which means that it can be a little bit difficult to open and close your fans with ease. So what I do first thing when I get them is I check which side the fan is. So this one here is a left-hand fan because it won't open in the right, and see how it doesn't fully open. So same check with the other one. Oh, these are actually quite okay. But to be able to get them to open and close a bit easier, I basically just want to grab the fan in the right hand and then I just want to open and close it gently. You don't have to be overly careful. I'm just kind of doing this to enable the pin to loosen up a little bit and for the staves down here to get a little bit of wiggle room. So basically I just open and close them, and I do that with both. I just open and close them a few times until I feel they're opening and closing quite smoothly. This is just so they don't get stuck when you first try to play with them, which can be a little bit frustrating when that happens. So yeah, just open and close them, kind of hold the top stave, let them wiggle up and down. So see how it's making that sound now? It wasn't doing that before because the staves wouldn't open and close that easily. So once we've done that with both sides and they open and close, it looks pretty rough what I'm doing here, but it's actually not that rough. I'm just rocking my wrist back and forth. Obviously be careful when you're having longer silks than these aren't super long. It's just to make sure that you're not ripping anything, but that's what they're built for, to open and close. So yeah, don't have to be overly careful. If you're a little bit worried about it, you can also just grab one stave with one hand and the other stave with the other and just pull them open and close. Oops. Pull them open and close like this. That also works fine. And then once I've gotten them out and they are opening and closing fine, you can see they might be a bit crinkled. So that doesn't just apply to new fans, but this can also happen when you have fans that have been in storage. No matter how good you try to store your fans, they do sometimes get a bit crinkly. We don't really want to leave them out hanging because of dust and things like that. But there's a really simple remedy to this. I just have a little spray bottle with water here. Make sure if you're reusing a spray bottle from something else that there's literally no residue left, because you don't want any of the stuff that was previously in the spray bottle to get onto your fans. So you can either get a new one or you can reuse one, but make sure that it's super, super clean, okay? And then all I want to do is I want to spray the water onto my fans whilst I am fluttering them. And silk is a very, very light and soft fabric and quite thin. So that means you don't want to get your fans completely wet when you spray onto them. Just a little surface spray and then just a little fan out to get the crease out. I'm just going to let this video run until we've actually achieved a fairly crumble-free fan. As you can see, they're already leaving this area here, all those crinkles. It's already starting to get a bit smoother, and you just want to do this fanning motion to dry out the fans as you're going. Like I said, we don't need it to be completely soaked. We just want to get it sprayed a little bit, and also make sure to not spray onto the top stave part where the staves and the silks are glued together. We want to keep this part completely dry, just because water can dissolve the glue depending on what glue is being used, but you don't want to risk it. You don't need to get that part wet. Usually it's pretty tight up the top here anyway, so we don't need to get any wrinkles out of there. It's really just for this beautiful length of your fan. And then also with these fans here, so these half moon fans here, they are double-sided, so just make sure that you're doing it on one side, and then afterwards I also want to do it on the second side to actually be able to get the crease out of the other side as well. Can be a little bit of work, but it looks really beautiful if before a performance or just before you take them out to a festival or something like that, you get them all nice and smooth, at least for the start. And you can also do this refreshing whenever you want to. Just make sure that when you pack them away that they are definitely 100% completely dry, because otherwise, you know what happens to wet folded clothes, the crease will actually get worse. So just make sure that you get them all nice and dry. So now it's still not completely out, but just as a comparison, so we have this silk fan right here, so there's still some crease but not that much, compared to one that we haven't sprayed. You can have a direct comparison there. So on this left fan here, I've just sprayed a few sprays, maybe the last 5 minutes worked on that to get that nice and crease free. And then we also have our fan that hasn't been treated at all on the right here. So you see there is a difference. There's also a difference in how the silk will flow. Looks all a bit more beautiful when it's nice and smooth like this. And then also, like I said, if it's a double-sided fan, I want to be doing the same thing on the other side. And then another thing that I wanted to show you guys, and I will just get a longer pair of fans for this, is the correct storage of your fans. So I know that these little green ones that I just got, they're fairly small, so the way that I stored them is just on the long side, pull the silks down and then just fold it over at the end, so I have a nice little package like this. And then when you're having long silks, for example like these guys, how I store them is I usually on the flat side stack them on top of one another, and then I'll just start folding along the vertical line of the fan, and I will just fold them over and around like so. Have a nice little package here. And then what I like to use to keep them is just this little pouch here. That you can use whatever pouch works. I usually try to find something that is dust free. If the fan doesn't come with one, you can make yourself one. You can store them all in one pouch. You can store them in separate pouches. I like to keep them in separate pouches just in case the color might come off. You never know. One thing that did happen to me was that I played my fans in the rain, a black pair of fans that I had. Luckily they were just like one of my first few cheap practice fans that I got, and the glue dissolved as well as the color came out of it. So yeah, I like to just keep my fans in their respective pouches. That way I also always know what I'm going for when I grab them. And since I kind of have a lifestyle that involves a lot of living on the road and stuff like that, you can pack them really nice and easy in these pouches, make them super small. So I just had to rewrap this one. So I get it all into my pouch. It has a little drawstring up the top here. And this is how you can keep them safe. So yeah, one more time as a little reminder what we just talked about. So condition, you'll pin down the bottom by simply opening and closing the fan multiple times before you attempt to play with them. Then spray water onto your beautiful fans if you would like to get them all nice and smooth. Obviously with heat protection you can also iron them, or you can also steam them lightly. But for me, again, on the road, I don't have an iron or a steamer, so a water bottle and a bit of air, and then just fanning them out gets them nice and smooth as well. Again, let them dry out before you pack them away, and then when you're packing them, simply fold along the vertical line. This will help to keep all of your pairs of fans nice and beautiful for as long as possible. I hope this is helpful for you guys. I hope you enjoy your practice, and until next time.